Track Record with your hosts Mike Shea and Robert Yetter. Brought to you by Eventide Entertainment.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Track Record. My name is Robert Yetter.
My name is Mike Shea.
And we are so glad you are with us today. Today we have an interesting episode. We are doing themed episodes now, and last week we did... what was last week, Mike?
Last week was debut albums.
Debut, that's right. We had Deloused in the Comatorium by Mars Volta, and we had The Phantom Agony by Epica. We both gave each album the highest reviews so far on the show, 3.5 purples, right?
3.5 purple stars each.
And so if you haven't listened to that episode, everyone go check it out. Episode 4, it was a good one. Now, we chose a theme for this week, and it was album that we used to hate or disliked, but no longer do. Our first impression of the album was negative, and now we think highly of it. So, Mike.
Yes, Robert.
Oh wait, we should. I think it's become customary that we explain to the audience what we are drinking.
Oh yeah, what do you got today? What do you got?
So, I have vodka mixed with Hypnotic. I made the joke to Mike earlier that I was going to eat my own face off.
Part of me believed it.
Hypnotic sounds like a really cool alcohol, right?
It sounds like a drug they would make a Sylvester Stallone movie about.
Yeah, it's Hypnotic with a Q. And it's some blue shit, and I just mixed it half and half with vodka. It's only like 17%. It's considered a liqueur.
Liqueur.
Right? Liqueur.
Yeah.
And it's really good. So, I did before I had 3 shots of that. I don't know why I'm not drunk right now. What the hell? But before I had 3 shots of that with my lovely waifu, Candace, shout out, Candace! And I had 2 shots of tequila. And now all the liquor's gone. All I have left is this big-ass bottle of vodka, and I don't know what to do with it. We made Jell-O shots last night. That's why we had a big-ass bottle of vodka. Friday the 13th it was. We had a party. Anyway, Mike, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking a hard ginger ale because I'm a classy broad.
Hard ginger. Is that like one of those companies that makes like the hard root beer, the hard orange soda, that same vein?
Yeah, it's the guys who make, I forget the name of the company, and they're not paying me, so I'm not going to try to say it on the air, but it's one of the same guys that make the hard orange soda and the hard grape soda, stuff like that.
Understood.
And
I am also now drinking a beer, which I don't normally drink.
I'm not the biggest. I'll drink cider. I'll drink mead. I'm not the biggest beer guy unless it's like a Blue Moon or that's pretty much it. A Yingling maybe.
There was back in my restaurant days. Thank God I got out of that shit. My buddy, we used to, towards the end of the shift, the end of the night, 9:30, we close at 10, right, or whatever. We would go out to his car, and he'd always have a case of beer. Like, he liked the really hoppy beer too, and so we'd just chug a beer really fast, and then go back inside. And I don't know if I should actually say that.
What are they going to do? Fire you?
Yeah, whatever. Fuck those people. Shout out, though, to everyone that I love there, and I miss you guys.
All 2 of you.
But yeah. No, there were a few. I mean, after 7 years, there are some good relationships there.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, fuck Columbia, South Carolina. So
hard.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Well,
love the people, not the place.
Exactly. Yes, I met my wife there, and my best friend Mitchell, and that's about it.
Yeah, you didn't meet me there or anything.
Oh yeah, you, Mike. That was a thing. Well,
Fuck me, right?
to be totally honest, we never really we never hung out
No,
that much. It was
I was stuck
more just like when the music shit was going on, you were there. Like,
because I was stuck babysitting He Who Shall Not Be Named, and just yeah.
well,
It was a weird time. Things got better though.
yeah. And so in the past couple months, we have rekindled our friendship, and it is stronger and meatier than ever.
They tried to strike it down, but it became more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
That's right.
I just watched the new Star Wars trailer like 8 times. It's so gorgeous.
It is. Speaking of star things, I want to see that new Star Trek.
Oh, the new show?
Yeah.
I saw
Discovery?
the pilot. Yeah, I saw the pilot with my dad. It's different than most Star Trek shows because it's focused more on the Klingon Federation War that we've always heard about in all the shows but never actually seen. So
why don't they do like just boost it in the future? What's up with all the I don't care about the prequel stuff.
I think part of the reason is just because there's so many allusions and stories told about the stuff in the past that they kind of want to explore that. That's one of the reasons why I like the Star Trek Online game so much, is because it takes place several hundred years in the future of the prime Star Trek universe.
Right.
Like after Vulcan was destroyed, or not Vulcan, Romulus was destroyed and all that. And so you kind of create your own continuity within the Star Trek universe, and you can actually go to Memory Alpha at one point and research like what happened in all those years of history up to the point where the game starts. And it's actually really fascinating, and it's a fantastic online game.
It's well received, well reviewed.
I played it.
I have it on my computer. I've played about an hour of it, but
well, you can get it on the PS4 now. I actually prefer it on the PS4 to the computer.
Really, the whole MMO on console to me is weird. Just
it is
shortcuts. You got to have I have the special mouse that has all the 1 through 12 on the side, so my thumb can boop, 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 boop. Yeah. It's real quick. An RPG guy.
Yeah. But, no, it's fun. I like it. And, Discovery, like I said, I saw the pilot. I didn't hate it, but it didn't make me want to spend $10 a month for the next 4 months to watch it week to week. Because you can only watch it on the CBS All Access app, and it's $10 a month, and they're only releasing 1 episode a week.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a terrible format.
Yeah, so that's why a lot of people aren't watching it. Like, everyone who's watching it is saying it's good, but a lot of folks aren't watching it because you basically have to commit to 4 to 5 months of this of this app just to watch this one show.
Right. Well, I mean, that's not totally different than what I did with HBO Now.
Yeah, but there's more stuff to watch on HBO now because HBO is putting out more original content.
Yes, there was a couple, like I watched Westworld, and True Blood is on there. But why HBO is really steep, man. It's $15 a month for that.
It is, but it's steeper, but it's also HBO. Like they've got the numbers to back that up with. Like they can justify that.
I mean, if they didn't have Game of Thrones, then they wouldn't. So they're lucky.
Well, yeah, but also with CBS's big thing right now is, if you get CBS All Access, you can watch every episode of Cheers. It's like, I can do that on Netflix.
Yeah. Or just go to YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube, everyone. It's existed for a long time. You can find almost anything on there.
So, but yeah, anyway, that's That's
Okay.
our off-topic rant for today.
That's the first one, Mike.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
That's the first one. That's not the last. That is definitely the
No.
first.
We're pretty good at that, I think.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have. I feel like we're gonna have some rants. Some rants on the show today. I foresee it.
Yeah, I've as with every show that we do, I write notes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some are more detailed than others.
Mm-hmm.
But for this one, I have actually written out my rant.
Oh boy.
I'll just a slight one for just one point that I want to make, but
Okay.
I had to get the words out before they weren't funny in my mind. They're probably still not funny, but you know.
Yeah, I've got some notes. I don't have any rants this particular time, but I do have some things I want to say.
Okay. So, let's see. Who went first last week?
I believe you did your review first. I could be wrong, but I believe you did.
No,
I opened the show last time, so I did my review first.
Okay. So it's all up to me, Mike.
So, all up to you.
What did I have this week?
So again, the theme of this week was albums that we at one point in our life had a strong distaste for, and now we have a fondness for. And this one kind of took some people by surprise. I actually caught some crap from some of my friends for this, because this is a band that I now hold in very high regard. The album is The End of Heartache by Killswitch Engage. And there's really not a whole lot I can say about this album that Robert probably isn't already about to tell you through his own research. So, Rob, I'm just going to let you take it from here, man.
Yes, sir. So we've got The End of Heartache by Killswitch Engage. Released in 2004 in May. It peaked at number 21 on the Billboard 200 chart, and it became certified gold in 2007, selling over 500,000 copies. I've never listened to Killswitch Engage. But I always had the impression, and I don't know why, that they were a little more technical. I thought they were technical metal, and that I don't know where that came from, but that's what I always had the impression of.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
So I don't know. Maybe I'm just
dumb.
The
singer for this particular album, the band he was with before Killswitch, was called Blood Has Been Shed, and they were very much like a technical math metal type album or a band.
Did he sing less?
He was pretty much straight scream on that one, I think.
So he should have stuck with that shit. I'll get to that later. All right. And so, along the vein of being technical, this album is certainly minimally technical, and Killswitch Engage, I'm sure, is minimally technical. There was a few interesting, odd time signature stuff, but that's about it. I heard approximately 0 guitar solos. About 0, I'm going to say.
I think there might be one, but yeah, they're not a guitar solo band, really. That's not really their thing.
Yeah. I feel pretty similar about this album as I did with Five Finger Death Punch's The Wrong Side of Heaven Part 1.
Oh, God.
In that every song had moments that I truly enjoyed, but the majority was just middling for me. And at least Killswitch Engage, though, functions had a little bit higher, they're more intellectual than Five Finger Death Punch, and that shows in the lyricism, rather than just, the macho cliche, uninteresting and unentertaining bullshit, and and I'm gonna go off topic here, but I I bet you Five Finger Death Punch wishes that they had written better songs that appeal to a wider variety of people, because they're probably aghast, all alone, wishing that they had some real groupies instead of like grown ass tap out shirt wearing men, you know? Like they could do, I bet you they're just like, oh man, why didn't we write some, like, you know, some more sensitive songs? We could have, look at all these dudes in the front row. Anyway.
It's true. I've seen them. It's a lot of guys.
Yeah. And it's got to be that specific group. Just like, I don't know why the tap out shirt is just those kind of guys, you know?
No, I get it. Yeah.
It's like, I'll fucking beat you up, man. Here we go to fucking ripping on Bostonians again. I guess that's just our thing. Sorry again. 2 in a row. That's enough about that. All right, I won't rip Five Finger Death Punch anymore. Sorry, audience. I know that I've thrown the term generic around a bunch. We both have, actually, so far on this show. And once again, it applies to this album.
Okay.
I think the glaring factor in the generic mediocrity of this record is the singer's vocal ability. He has an okay scream, but his regular singing voice is pretty painful to listen to. Now, what was interesting to me is because listening through it, I found several parts. There's a few moments where he changes the tone of his singing to it's a more melodic background singing. I don't even know if it's the same guy or someone else in the band.
It's the guitar player.
So my next point is invalid, but they instead of you know, that nice melodic actual like good singing voice, there's just that more talky tone, singy vocals, the hard rock style, you know, and it's not pleasing to the ear. His vocals don't match the theme of the album, and his style doesn't match the atmosphere that they try to portray with this album, the themes of love and heartache. And it feels like to me that they genre jump frequently on this. They're listed as metalcore, which I don't know what that is actually. I guess that's what Killswitch Engages. I guess it's just like
I'll clarify it in my rebuttal.
Okay. Excuse me. It didn't feel to me that they knew what they wanted to be, so they threw a bunch of different styles in there. I hinted at, there were hints of emo, death metal, power metal, hard rock in there. It just depended on the song. And like I said last week with Epica, their debut album, they knew exactly what they were, right? They knew what their sound was. And I don't know where in the chronology that this album comes with Killswitch Engage. I think it's probably an earlier one.
It's number 2.
Okay, so they're still getting their footing, I guess. But stick with something. I don't know. I mean, I'm okay with the experimental, and I'm okay with different, you know, exploring different genres within the same album, but I don't think they do it well here. I didn't like the production of the album. The guitars and drums especially weren't rounded out enough, in my opinion. They didn't have much punch at all. But considering the time, this is 2004, all metal sounded like that. Metal sounded just terrible, like between pretty much up until like I don't know, 2008 maybe. So they're a few years behind on getting that dynamic sound. It's hard to explain. I don't know.
Well, I think
as someone who
then,
does production, it makes sense when I say it, but
I think back then, no one was really quite sure how metal was supposed to sound, especially because we were on the cusp of the digital age. And,
yeah.
And I'll talk more about this in my rebuttal, but this particular form of metal was still brand new at the time. But
Okay.
I'll talk more about that in my rebuttal.
Speaking about the production, one thing that stood out to me was that the guitars were mixed oddly. And again, it's hard to explain, but they just didn't sound full. They sounded flat and lifeless. The more technical parts that did exist for the guitar were super drowned out in the mix, right? All you had was not the bass line, but the bass line of the song, right? It's a flat, less dynamic sound. One weird thing when I was listening to this is that I don't know why, but I kept feeling like I was listening to AFI, and just the style, maybe, I'm not sure. That's a strange thing, but there were just like little moments every now and then. I was like,
they were
that's
kind
an
of
AFI song.
Kind of coming up around the same time, kind of swung in the same circles.
Yes, they were. Yeah. So. And also too, like, I think if they went kind of towards a little more melodic edge, they would approach a more Thrice-like sound. If you've ever delved into Thrice, one of my favorite bands, their later stuff. But this record really is mediocre. It's middling for me. Two favorites that I had on the album. My first favorite was a song called Declaration. It had the best mix for the more technical guitar work, and I loved the slightly jarring time signature at the beginning. That was a good song. And I loved the song And Embers Rise. The clean melodic guitars were such a welcome change to the rest of the album. But this favorite song comes with a catch. This song is only like a little 2-minute refrain or interlude, little instrumental thing that they call it. But it's nice. But it's pretty sad that one of my favorite songs on the album is one that's completely different from their normal sound. So, Mike, The End of Heartache by Killswitch Engage, the not technical band, I give this album a 1 out of 4 purple stars.
Wow.
One that's tied with the lowest, which was, I believe, what did I give? I think Ailstorm was a 1. Or did I go 1.5? I can't remember.
I think you gave Ailstorm 1.5.
That's crazy. I did that? Wow.
I take it back. No.
Ailstorm's a half star. I take it back. Erase that episode.
I know you hated it. I know you absolutely hated it.
It was terrible.
But yeah. Yeah, I think Ailstorm was the lowest, and I think Death Punch was the second lowest up until now.
Yeah. It's tied. This one's tied with Death Punch, I believe. 1 star.
I think so. We need to.
And I still hold that they should change their name to just Death Punch, because that's way cooler. Because also, like, they've disproved that your thumb is like, they don't call that a finger anymore. It's just your thumb.
It's a thumb.
So your whole 5-finger shit doesn't work. Sorry, bros. Okay, Mike, let's hear your rebuttal.
Okay, so I get where you're coming from. the album seems a little all over the place, like they weren't sure what they were doing. Now it's kind of hard for me to talk about this album without delving into a lecture on the history of metalcore. So I'm going to try, cause I've given a lecture on the history of metalcore, when I was in college. So this album is number 2 when I was in college. This album is the second one they released. But, the thing about it is this was the first album with their vocalist Howard Jones.
They should have fired him.
Well, the previous guy who was their first vocalist, who's now back in the band and has been for a few years now, left because of reasons. And so when they were making this album, and also the drummer was brand new as well. I think they were still feeling each other out as a band. Yeah. Because the 2 guitarists and the bass player are the only original members in the band, at least at the time of, this album being produced. This was kind of the one that pushed them into the mainstream. They were nominated for a Grammy, for this album.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna say this. They were nominated for the End of Heartache, but,
right. I think I remember reading that.
But I have a problem with them being nominated for the End of Heartache because the version of the song that was nominated was the version that was put on the Resident Evil Apocalypse soundtrack.
Right.
And like most soundtrack versions of metal songs, it was a recut of the original, where they cut out all of the screaming. And wow. They actually cut out that's one of the few songs that has a guitar solo, cut out the guitar solo. Like they cut the song, like they knocked like a full minute off the song. Yeah, cause the album version is 5 minutes and the soundtrack version is 4 and 5 seconds. Yeah. It's just horrendous. The fact that that's the version that got nominated for a Grammy, pisses me off. But what I found is that the album after this one, which is called As Daylight Dies, was actually the album that got me to revisit Killswitch Engage.
Okay.
Because I felt like Howard found his footing with his voice.
Okay. Because
I think on this album, he was still... Because it was a weird time, because their first album was a huge hit. It was really, they debuted it on Roadrunner Records. Lyrically, because the original vocalist is a guy named Jesse Leach. He's the guy who's back with them now. And I worship the ground that man walks on as a lyricist. I think he's one of the best lyricists in metal right now. But As Daylight, so I feel like with the End of Heartache, they were still kind of trying to like ease people into the whole, like, you know, Jesse's not in the band anymore type situation.
Yeah.
And it was just, the album was kind of transitional, I felt like, because again, the next album, As Daylight Dies, is what pulled me back into giving the band another shot. Off of this album, there's maybe 2 songs that I still actually listen to this day, but having gone back and revisited it, I do find that I appreciate it a bit more because of where they were at, what was going on in their career at the time.
Understood.
And now that they're back with the original vocalist, I feel like they're kind of better than ever. But regardless, yeah, with this one, you were asking, you weren't quite sure what metalcore is. So, about this time, around the year 2000, there was this kind of, there was like this weird wave going through the music scene in like the New England area, like, cause these guys are from Boston or not. Yeah. Not from Boston. Yeah, they're from Boston. Which is funny because you were making fun of Boston accents earlier.
Yeah.
But because there was bands like, cause these guys were basically one of the bands that started what's called the metalcore genre, which again, I think is why it still kind of sounds like they're figuring out what they want to do. Cause it was a new sound. Metalcore is basically derived from a British, genre of music called hardcore metal, that was started over in the UK, which was a fusion of metal and hardcore punk.
Okay.
And then it kind of made its way over to the States. Now, people have asked what the difference is between hardcore metal and metalcore. And what I usually tell them is the difference is hardcore metal, the British version, tends to have a much stronger influence from the hardcore punk side.
Right.
Whereas the American metalcore has more of the metal influence in it.
Okay.
The best example I can give, if you want to hear what British hardcore metal sounds like, even though it's not a British band, is the second album from Avenged Sevenfold, Waking the Fallen.
I was just going to ask if Avenged Sevenfold is within that category.
If you look at their first two albums, Sounding the Seventh Trumpet and Waking the Fallen, those both had more of a British hardcore metal sound because they had more of the hardcore punk influence involved.
Right.
And then they became one of those bands where like every album kind of sounds a little different. They got to be very experimental. But yeah, if you go back and listen to those first two albums from Avenged Sevenfold, you get a better idea of what British hardcore metal sounded like.
Okay.
And so when it kind of came over to the States in the early 2000s, the only bands who were making this kind of sound were, Killswitch Engage, All That Remains, and Shadows Fall. And what's funny about those three bands, they all kind of have this weird intermingling because the vocalist for All That Remains, his first gig was he was the vocalist for Shadows Fall on their first album. And then he left Shadows Fall. And then when Jesse Leach left Killswitch Engage was going to hire him to be their new vocalist until they met Howard. And there's an interview where Phil from All That Remains is like, yeah, they called me and said, yeah, you're probably going to get the job. We have one more guy we got to audition. And Phil said, who is it? And they said, it's some guy named Howard Jones. And Phil said, never mind, you've got your guy. And Phil went on to start All That Remains. Now, there was actually a point when Howard left Killswitch Engage. They were in the middle of a tour, and they actually brought Phil to fill in for the rest of the tour. And they said, now we're called Philswitch Engage. It was funny. It was a fun tour. Because at this point,
you metalcoreans.
But yeah, so that's again, like I've done a 2-hour lecture on the history of metalcore, and it's pretty much basically the story of metalcore and Killswitch Engage kind of parallel each other because they were the ones who basically started it. So again, that's why like if you listen to their first album, it sounds very distinctly different because again, it was a brand new thing. And also I think Jesse Leach is just a better lyricist overall and a better vocalist, I think, personally. There are people who love Howard because again, he did get better as time went on.
I hope so.
Well, also the producer of the album was actually their guitar player, Adam, who's the guy whose lower melodic vocals you heard a couple times throughout the album.
Yeah.
Adam has actually produced just about every metalcore album to come out of the Northeast since like Killswitch started, because he produced their first album. He's produced all of their albums, every album for Shadows Fall, All That Remains, Black Dahlia Murder. And you can, which again, we talked about this last time with Epica because they had Sasha Perth as their producer and he's produced all of their albums, plus like all of Camelot's albums. And so the way you got to see Epica grow as a band, you also got to see their producer grow as a producer. And with Killswitch, you kind of get the same thing because Adam became a better producer as the albums progressed through time.
Yeah, true.
But I'm not going to argue you on your score of 1.5 because again...
No, only just one. Ailstorm somehow was 1.5.
But I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, no, I'm not going to argue with you on that because, like I said, I hated this the first time I heard it too. It wasn't until I found them later in their career and went back and revisited it as kind of an appreciation thing that I was able to say, okay, I get why I didn't like this album, but I can forgive it because now I know more about what was going on at the time the album was made.
I gotcha.
Does that make any amount of sense whatsoever?
Oh, yeah. Yes,
okay.
It does.
Okay, cool.
Very cogent points, sir.
Thank you. I'm full of them. I'll be here all night.
Sit break. Whoop, whoop.
Pause for drinkies.
Oh, Lord. All right. Okay, so The End of Heartache by Killswitch Engage, 1 star again. Mike, thank you for your rebuttal. Thank you for forcing me to listen to this trash, as always.
Well, let's see what happens.
So much fun.
Let's see what happens when we come back from the break.
Oh, snaps. Speaking of a break, ladies and gentlemen, let's take one.
Let's take one. Let's take a break, and we'll listen to me talk about some shit for a few minutes.
That's right.
You know, there's nothing quite as satisfying as a good conversation with intelligent company. Join comedian Don Smith every week as he sits down and talks with comedians, actors, filmmakers, writers, and everyday schmoes. It's The Life with Don Smith, Wednesdays at noon on 106.9 FM, and now available on the Eventide Entertainment podcast feed every Friday on Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes.
Nerd Versus, Mondays at 9 a.m. on the Eventide Entertainment podcast feed.
Are you into making music, videos, or podcasts? Are you a local comedic talent in need of some much-needed publicity? Are you a behind-the-scenes professional interested in audio-video production, graphic design, and public relations? Eventide Entertainment is actively seeking talents, clients, and professionals to help our business grow into something truly special. And we want you to be one of those. For more information, go to facebook.com/Eventide Entertainment or send us an email at eventideent@gmail.com.
Hey, welcome back to Track Record. You were just listening to myself talking about all the cool stuff going on here at Eventide Entertainment, and a little bit of Robert too.
Yeah, shout out Mike's voice. It's hot.
Oh yeah. So we just heard Robert give his very poignant thoughts on The End of Heartache by Killswitch Engage.
Mm-hmm.
Was not a fan, as it turns out.
Well,
but
you suspected that.
Well, yeah. Again, this is albums that we didn't like when we first heard them, and now have an appreciation for. Whether it's
right.
We like the album or just appreciate what it is. But yeah, this is stuff that when we first listened to it, we weren't fans of, and there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah, true.
So, Robert, why don't you tell the good people a little bit about what I'm about to talk about?
Okay. So, I gave you Plagues by The Devil Wears Prada. And The Devil Wears Prada was my first foray into metal proper, right? I don't count Tool, which is...
Nor should you.
Yeah, that was probably on the little bit harder side of things, but and last week I talked about Mitchell and the Mars Volta, and The Devil Wears Prada was something that he actually showed me, and I just I didn't have a taste for it, right? I didn't cultivate my metal yet. But you know, in hanging out with him and stuff, I kept giving it a try, and I was like, well, I'm going to, I see merit to this whole metal thing, and so let's see how this feels, now. And I ended up loving that album specifically by them. I think it's very... It's a little like the names of the songs are dumb and it's a little whatever, but melodically, as far as metal goes, they put a lot of melody into their songs, and so that's where I kind of fell in love with them. Their mix between melody and like breakdown style. Just brutal shit, So that's what I gave you. Didn't like it at first, like I said, but I came around and it became one of my favorites. So what do you think?
Thought it was okay. Thought it was okay.
Okay.
My biggest problems with the album come from a purely technical production standpoint.
Okay.
Is what a lot of it's going to boil down to. Now this is their second album, which seems to be the sub theme for today is second albums.
Yep.
So, and they were, this one came out in 2007. So they were coming about around the time that, you know, metalcore, like we were talking about earlier, of which they technically fall under the genre of, but just kind of because at the time it was a pretty wide, that genre is kind of wide ranging.
Yeah.
So they were kind of coming around about the same time that a lot of other bands in the genre were. You can hear a lot of direct influence from some of those other artists. I know one of the ones they list as an influence is Under Oath and Seosin.
Yeah.
And those are two bands who the whole time I was listening to this album, I kept thinking to myself, this reminds me a lot of Seosin and Under Oath and Silverstein, and Chiodos, all that stuff from the dark times. It's funny I mentioned Chiodos again because I didn't know this going into the album, but Craig Owens, who was, I don't remember if he was the original or the newer or the more recent vocalist for Chiodos, but he is on one of the songs.
Right.
You can't spell crap without C, I think is what it's called.
Probably.
And they were also a part of that generation of musicians that was all about the long-winded, weird-ass song titles. Them, A Day to Remember, Panic at the Disco, a lot of the long, hey, John, what's your name again? What the hell kind of song title is that? HTML Rules, dude. Reptar, King of the Ozone. Just
favorite song ever.
I love it just because of the Rugrats reference. But,
they sold so many shirts of that shit.
Yeah.
Mitchell had a shirt. I don't know if he has it anymore, but it was
Mitchell's like the biggest Devil Wears Prada fan I've ever met in my life.
I mean, he's pretty. I mean, he introduced me to it, but I don't know that he's like a super fan.
Well, no, he's not. But he's the person I know who likes them the most. That's I haven't met a lot of my friends who are really into Devil Wears Prada, and I don't say that as a slight against the band. That's just I haven't really known anybody else who's been big into the band other than Mitchell, and he's not exactly big into the band. So,
right.
Anyway, so this was on Rise Records. Rise was kind of a pretty popular label putting out. Excuse me, I got the beer burps. Putting out this kind of music back at the time. It was produced by Joey Sturgis. Now, Joey Sturgis is renowned among producers for he produced all of these kinds of albums. I mean, he produced stuff for Devil Wears Prada, Attack, Miss May I, Asking Alexandria, Born of Osiris, Acacia Strain, all those, Bless the Fall, all those kinds of bands. That's what he's been the producer for. And he's not a bad producer. It's just that he seems to be one of the producers out there that has a real passion for this kind of metal. And he rolls with that. I like Born of Osiris. I like Born of Osiris a lot, actually. So
Born of Osiris is more deathcore.
Yeah. Then they're straight deathcore. And I saw them open for, All That Remains on Halloween. That was a good goddamn show. Anyway.
Hell yeah.
They were in skeleton makeup and shit because it was Halloween. Metal shows on Halloween are the best, I gotta tell you. So like I said, here's the thing with this album.
Lay it on me.
It needed someone else, not Sturgis, another producer to go in and give this like one more final draft of post-production. It needed one more time, to paraphrase Sweeney Todd, it needed one more time through the meat grinder to really get it where it needed to be. There was pretty much at one point on every single song that I felt like the vocals were getting swallowed up by the music, where I wasn't sure if there was vocals going on or if it was synth or if it was just my car speakers, you know. 'Cause I listen to a lot of my music in the car because I drive a lot. So, but even when I had my headphones on, there was a lot of times where the vocals kind of got lost in the mix of the music. And this was kind of around at the beginning. Again, this was the cusp of the digital age of music production. And there were a couple of times where you could tell some editing had been done. Where maybe where like, you know how a lot of metal songs will have like the breakdown and then it just comes to a complete stop for like a half second and then it picks up again.
Yeah.
There was a couple of times where that happened in songs where it sounded like instead of the band coming to a complete stop, the producer just like clipped the audio at the end to make it sound like a complete stop.
Interesting.
Because it seemed a little too abrupt. And I'm a guy, you know, in my day job right now, part of my job is to review commercials before they go on TV to check them for audio and video quality.
Yeah.
So I recognize when audio has been clipped really easily. So there were a couple of times where it just seemed like an editing error or a production error. Now, again, this is early in their career, and this is relatively early in Sturgis's career as well. This was actually the second album he produced for Devil Wears Prada, and it was only the 7th album he'd ever produced in his career.
Yeah.
Everything else before then had been debut albums from other bands, so he was still kind of figuring himself out as a producer, I feel like, which is fine. You got to start somewhere. Like, I'm not knocking him. I'm not saying he's a shit producer. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, you and I have both produced things that we look back on and go, could have done better.
Yep.
But, you know, yeah, it was a lot of, it just needed another run through the production process. It was recorded over the course of a couple of months, end of 2006, beginning of 2007. They spent about, looks like 2 to 3 months in the studio, and then released it at the beginning of the summer of 2007 in August. I feel like they probably could have just either spent another month recording it or another month in post producing it before it got released. One of the two. It's just, it needed another month of writing or producing, one of the two. I lean more towards the producing part. You could definitely tell. Now, I've never delved into Devil Wears Prada too much before this. Mostly just like playing their singles on the radio every once in a while. Now Mike, the lead vocalist, I've heard in like featured in other songs by other bands.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what he's capable of vocally. This particular album, he wasn't quite there yet. Again, second album, you know, can't hold too much against him. It's a newer genre of music. And even most metalcore, again, this falls under the metalcore umbrella, but most metalcore didn't sound like this back then. You know, they incorporated a lot of like rock elements and a lot of synth stuff, which is different for metal back then. Incorporating synth into metal was weird back then.
Yeah. I always thought they were like a mix between emo and, you know, I guess metalcore. They throw in that emo element with the clean singing and stuff. Yeah, they
like, and the thing about you know metalcore is metalcore definitely has its emo influences. There is no denying that. Anybody who denies that is an idiot. And it's not a bad thing. Like people use emo as such a derogatory word. emo has its place in music.
In my heart.
In my bleeding, tortured heart, it has its place. But I mean, emo was big for a reason, because at the time that it was a thing, it was different than what everybody else was doing, and people kind of wanted some different. Which I think is kind of what helped booster Devil Wears Prada's career as well, because they kind of came in when the emo and the pop punk was kind of going by the wayside, and now the metalcore and the heavy metal and stuff like that was starting to become more prominent. Mm-hmm. So, and again, I hate saying this because it's been said a lot. There were times it felt a little bit generic. Not all the time. Here comes
that word again.
Here comes that word. Not all the time. I'm not saying the whole album was generic. I'm not saying the band is generic. There was just a couple of songs that I was kind of like, okay, I've heard this before. Maybe not with synth in it, but I've heard this before.
Yeah.
That's really, there was nothing overwhelmingly positive that I found with this album. That's not to say that it was bad, but nothing really wowed me. Like, Mars Volta had a level of creativity that really caught me off guard and really had me wanting more. This was just kind of like, okay, yeah, this would be on somebody's, if you typed in metal into Pandora, eventually you'd hear this play in the background at some point. I'm not knocking Pandora, but if I type in metal or metalcore or Killswitch Engage into Pandora, I'm gonna hear the Devil Wears Prada at some point. It's just, and again, it's a band that I distinctly remember playing on a random playlist when I was working in radio. To kind of just fill time, it's like, I need another song to fill some time here before we come back. Okay, Devil Wears Prada. I think it was on HTML Rules, dude. I think was one of the ones I actually played the most.
Yeah.
It was a big single.
But HTML does rule, dude.
HTML is the shit. Don't get me wrong. I love the stylizing of the Rules has the Z and Dude has the 2 zeros in it. It's stupid, but
we should all write like that. That's how like the grown-ups, right? We're like grown men now, but like the grown-ups, that's how they text, right?
I'll do that to be ironic.
That's how you guys are texting these days, right? You use all the shortcuts. I was, not to get off topic again, but it's gonna happen. But when did it become? You remember, all right, texting back in the day, it was all like short form, right? You use letters for certain words. You only had,
everybody had like, 100 texts a month. So they wanted to say as much as they could in one text. But you only had, it's kind of the problem you have with Twitter. You only had like 140 characters to send in a text before it got turned into 2 texts. And then that was going to cost you text for the month.
Right.
So shorthand became a thing.
But now it's like, nobody does that anymore. It's all proper.
Everybody's got unlimited texting now, and
it would actually be harder to do it short form than it is just to write it out.
Yeah, because you got to go to multiple keyboard menus, and I'll do it to be funny. I'll do it to be ironic. Like if I was having a conversation with somebody about emo music the other day, and I did like the whole conversation, like replacing all my O's with zeros and all my S's with Z's, and.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I type some weird shit when when you and I correspond on Facebook or whatever.
We use the weirdest fucking slang to talk to each other.
Oh, I just shit words out.
Yeah,
it's my self-induced Tourette's.
What are some sounds that sound like something positive? Yeah, that'll work. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's kind of where I stand on this one. Is like. Yeah, I mean, I kind of listened to it, and when it was done, it was just kind of like, okay, well, that was an album. That was 12 tracks of music. That was because I didn't realize this till afterwards. I listened to again, this is 2007, so the South Korean bonus edition that had
Oh, yeah.
2 extra songs on it, one of which had Cole from Gwen Stacy, which is a band I had long forgotten about until I listened to this fucking album. Now it's like, oh, I gotta go listen to Gwen Stacy again now. Shit.
I don't even know who that is.
It was some fucking metal band that was named after Spider-Man's girlfriend. Like, it really wasn't that good, but it's like, oh, they existed. Now I gotta go revisit that. But yeah, no, it wasn't a bad album. It was an album.
Okay.
All in all, I had a lot of problems with the production quality of this one. Well, not a lot of problems, but 2 very big problems. I'm gonna settle at a 2.
Okay.
I'm
Middle
settling
of the road.
at a 2 out of 4. Yeah. And that's honestly, that's exactly how I feel about it. I am middle of the road on this album. I didn't like this. I didn't hate it. I'm not gonna, like, I honestly don't feel like I shit all over the album. I feel like I was just kind of.
No, you didn't.
I was unimpressed. I was not impressed. It was just like, okay, well, that was a metal album from the early 2000s. That's about all I can really say about it.
Yeah. For me, that, if I can go into a little bit of my rebuttal here.
Rebuttal.
Right. And okay, so the first song that Mitchell showed me from this was Goats on a Boat.
Okay.
Which is like one of my favorite songs of all time, just because it has that part where it has the really jarring, the really crazy guitar work there.
You know what that song reminded me of? It reminded me of something from The Fall of Troy.
The Fall of Troy.
You ever heard of The Fall of Troy?
No.
They did a lot of that weird, just, chug, 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 on the guitars.
Yeah.
That was kind of their thing.
Really,
that was kind of what that reminded me of. Yeah.
Dissonant, man. I know music. Yeah. What's up? I read a book one time. Mitchell has been trying to get me to learn music theory, and this is the thing about me, and why Cloud Jolt works the way it does. Shout out Cloud Jolt again. Go listen to that shit. It's what up. Kitsune of the Suicide Forest. Beautiful shit.
Which that album got used as a soundtrack for an indie film 2 years ago.
Yes.
Remember
and
that?
Yeah, I do remember that. Shit, what the fuck was I just saying?
Mitchell was trying to get you to
music
theory.
So music was Mitchell was studying music theory, and he's in college, and he has a few of these books, and he's always been trying to get me to catch on to that. And while I have caught on a little bit, it's that it's mostly I have a good ear. All right, not to toot my own fucking horn, but like I have a good ear, and I have a sense for what should come next and how things should be melodically. I just have that kind of melodic ear. And that's something that Mitchell, he's always like, man, how the fuck do you do that? Like, that's like exactly what should come next according to music theory, but you just do that,
Well, that's where I think that's one of the few things you and I have in common. When I took some music theory in college, I thought about majoring in it, but I wanted to learn other things.
Oh, that would be hard. It's not an easy thing.
No, it's not. I took a couple of classes in it just as part of my production when I was, because I have my degree in broadcasting and digital media. So that was one of the things I took was a musical theory class, because it was meant to be something to help with the actual production classes. And basically
that's not going to help you.
No, it really didn't. I don't know whose idea that was, but it didn't work. I've never in my life understood musical theory. One of the guys here in Ohio that I produce with, he is my Mitchell. He is great with the musical theory side of things, and he's always trying to teach it to me. And it's kind of like math. It just doesn't click with me. My brain just doesn't, but what all my professors in college always told me was I have what's called a producer's ear. Yeah. Which is kind of what I was associated with you as well, as, I can, the way things go into my ear and enter my brain, makes sense to me. It's trying to explain it in a logical sense that like, you know, practical, you know, actual goddamn musicians will understand is a different thing.
Yeah.
You know, I know what it's supposed to sound like. I just can't describe it.
Right. When I'm at the helm, when I have FL Studio open and there's, you know, Mitchell will play something, or how the dynamic normally is that Mitchell will essentially, he'll build a progression, you know, and he'll build the melodies, and he'll just give all that shit to me, and I'll you know, just mess with it, and I'll add to it with, you know, whatever's in my head, and it's, you know, there's always something, a producer's mind, there's always something in your head, you know, exactly how it should sound in your head, and then, you know, you just have to translate that into. That's why you always have to have FL Studio open, just like you gotta, like, because you got to get it out of your head as accurately as possible. It's got to be an accurate translation.
Well, I think it's always good to have. I think a good production team should always consist of someone who's good with the theory and someone who's good with what I call the practical.
Yeah.
You know, with you're the practical, Mitchell's the theory. With me, Gil is the theory, I'm the practical. And honestly, I kind of, not to step on your rebuttal, but I feel like that's what this album was lacking. That's what I feel like Plagues was lacking. That they needed one more cook in the kitchen behind Sturgis to say, you know, what about X, Y, and Z? It just felt like there was something else missing from the production side of it. And that's why I think, with very few exceptions, the best production on albums comes from teams, not single producers.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean,
single producers do fine. Some of my favorite producers are single producers, but I like looking at albums that, you know, when you see producer and it's like 2 or 3 dudes, I like having 2 or 3 cooks in the kitchen when it comes to making an album, because you want to have the varying of opinions, because that's how good ideas, I think, are born.
Right. Oh yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, and so knowing that kind of, that dynamic between myself and Mitchell, like, you know, great stuff gets made, and so he's the one that showed this album to me, and really urged me to get into it. But my thing about it is, I really think that when they do, I think they do the clean vocals really well. Those like melodic choruses are they're really catchy. Like, and I find myself wanting to listen to those more.
I was digging the clean vocals. I was digging the clean vocals a lot, and it's not like there was a heavy amount of clean vocals on the album. They were there, but they weren't like a major part, I guess.
Yeah, they're pretty much,
they were there,
reserved for the chorus and such.
Yeah. Those to me sounded good. What it felt like to me, and we've talked about this person before, Melissa Cross, who's a vocal instructor, who a few years after, probably around 2008, 2009, really made a name for herself as being like the go-to vocal instructor for metalcore and metal bands. Guys,
yes,
like, you know, Mike and Devil Wears Prada.
I have her DVD.
You
Zen
do?
of Screaming, yeah.
You do. It's a fantastic DVD, and pretty much from 2008 forward, any metalcore album you listen to, you notice a slight difference in the vocal styles of all the vocalists, because at that point, everyone was trying to figure out the best way to blend the screaming and the singing without destroying their voices.
Yeah, that's a big thing about her is she was showing them how to, because all these guys were on the road, you know, they're playing shows every night, every couple nights, and just at the end of a show, their voice, they would have no voice, and so she really showed them how to control it, you know.
A lot of it comes down to breathing.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Putting you breathe from the diaphragm, not the lungs, right?
Yeah. So, but that's why, like, I feel like if I probably, like I said, I say this every week. I'm gonna go listen to some of their newer stuff after this album.
Can I give you a next venture for them?
Throw it at me.
It was an EP that they put out quite a few years back. It's called Zombie EP.
Okay.
And it's kind of a and what you're talking about there, the kind of difference in the vocal stylings, or an improvement. He sounds completely different. His screams do. Between
because that came out in 2000. I'm looking at it here, 2010.
Yeah. But a really good, fun, just like quick, 5 or 6 song EP.
Mm-hmm.
Really fun about zombies.
I wish more bands would put out EPs. Because the thing I like about EPs is it's like you're getting to experience the band practicing almost.
Yeah,
it's like here's some stuff we're working on. Here's where we're at in the songwriting process.
Right, but you can do so much more with an EP now. Like that what you're talking about is kind of the more traditional thing that you do with what's called an extended play, right? It's kind of just like almost a promotional piece for your actual album, right?
Yeah.
But you can do crazy things with an EP. You can make it very singular and artistic on its own and stand alone, rather than just. But you can also make it a kind of a showcase, right? Which is what I did with my recent EP. Go check that out. Strays EP by Citizen 7. There's alternate versions of songs on there. There's a couple songs that will be on the new album. There's covers and stuff like that. Kind of just a little showcase of what you're all about.
Yeah, and Strays I think is actually a really good example of the showcase side of making an EP. Here's an original, here's a redux, here's a cover, here's a demo. One of the bands that I'm a big fan of right now who really gets into the art of the EP, I think, is Hailstorm. Not Ailstorm, Hailstorm.
Oh, God.
not Hailstorm.
Okay.
They put out what's cool, I think, is after every studio album, they always put out an EP of covers. It's usually 5 or 6 covers, and each one is from a different genre. Like one is a metal cover, one's a pop cover, one's a techno cover. Like there was one of their EP cover EPs had a Marilyn Manson cover. It had a Fleetwood Mac cover. It had a Daft Punk cover. It had a Judas Priest cover. They've done this for every studio album, and the last one they did had a Metallica cover on it. They covered Ride the Lightning, which is the shit. So they really kind of have had a lot of fun with the what kind of cool fun thing can we do with an EP, which is actually why I almost this is funny a lot. This is some behind the scenes stuff. Robert and I almost picked the same album for each other for next week's show.
Yeah. This actually ties in perfectly into our next segment of when we reveal what we're going to give each other. Speaking of EPs, I was listening to an EP called Add Violence by 9 Inch Nails.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that's an example of really kind of like a standalone EP, more like just a small album, right? Mm-hmm. But to get into it, next week, you are going to be listening to the theme for next week is pretty much let down albums that we were excited for, but they
had a lot of build up, a lot of hype, a lot of like, this is going to be the tits.
Yeah. And it was just a disappointment. So
it was, Ugh.
In 2013, an album came out that I was very excited for. And when I listened to it, it was the worst thing that this artist has ever made, and it's from 9 Inch Nails. It's called Hesitation Marks.
Oh, it was so bad.
So you're going to listen to that, and we're going to hear your thoughts on that.
Oh, I remember hearing the singles from that because I was just getting out of radio, and I heard the single from that, and I was like, "What the?" So I guess now I got to listen to the whole album. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, like I was saying, Robert and I almost gave each other the same album for this next week's show.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring this up is because, the album we almost gave each other was Moonbathers by Delane. And the reason I bring that up is because they had released was Moonbathers the EP? No, Moonbathers was the album. The EP was Lunar or whatever.
Yes.
Cause the EP was a really good kind of a showcase EP.
Right.
It had a couple of live tracks on it. It had a couple, cause they had added a new guitar player. Mm-hmm. Meryl Bechtold had joined the band. So they did a couple of like re-recordings or remixes of older songs with her on guitars, and then a couple of new ones. And I was like, okay, this is, I hate the single. I still to this day hate Sucker Punch. I think it's a terrible song.
Yeah, it is.
It's really bad. But I was like, but the other new stuff and the kind of the reduxes they did, I was like, all right, I'm on board. I'm looking forward to this new album. And then I love the artwork for the new album. I liked the song titles. I liked the artwork. I liked, again, I hated Sucker Punch, but I had heard one other song and I was like, okay, I'm on board. I like some of the guest vocalists they got, some of the guest musicians. Let's hear this thing. Oh, it wasn't good.
Mm-hmm. True that.
That was another album that,
that was like, I'm just going to wait for Epica later in the year.
The production was bad. Like, I'm not knocking, this is not a slight against you, Robert, but you could have done a better job producing that album.
Thank you. That's not a slight. I mean,
yeah. Like, I don't want to make it sound like this album was so bad that like this fucking guy could have produced it. No,
this fucking bozo.
Again, I know we've done a lot of self-promoting here, but if you go listen to Bogeyman's Tears, the album that Nick and Mitchell did with another musician a few years ago, that was all done in a living room.
Yes.
And when I tell people that album was produced in Robert's, living room, everyone's like, bullshit.
It's the power of technology, man.
It is. But
all you need is a good microphone, a mixer, a computer, and a fucking program.
But that's also why I get so touchy on new albums when the production quality is bad. Is like 15-year-olds in their garage can do better quality production than some of the stuff that's coming out these days that people spend millions of dollars to make.
Yeah.
So, but anyway,
a lot of it goes on the mixing and mastering end. There's quite a difference. You can record something just fine, but when you know how to mix it,
and that was the problem with Moonbathers was the vocals were mixed horribly.
Yeah.
And Charlotte has a fantastic singing voice, which I don't think was used to its fullest potential on Moonbathers.
Definitely not.
And two, what was there was so just, again, it was swallowed by the music on the whole album. It was just mixed so poorly.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, okay. So for next week, you've assigned me 9 Inch Nails. What is the name of that?
Hesitation Marks.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think he finds Jesus in that album. I'm not sure, but that you'll see.
Going off the single from that alone, I'm not looking forward to next week's going to be I'll tell you right now, next week is going to be a diarrhea episode, especially because
the triumphant return. Well, I'm a little diarrhea this week, but
a little bit. Well, the one I'm giving you for next week is actually it's kind of a weird because this was not a necessarily one studio album by any particular. This is actually a collaboration between two talents.
Whoa.
This was a collaboration between Lou Reed and Metallica called Lulu.
What the fuck? I've never heard of this. What?
Yeah, this came out in 2011. This was a couple years after Metallica were in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They collaborated on an album together. Now, Lou Reed is one of the most prolific songwriters, I think, of the 20th century. To combine spoken word poetry with old school rock and roll like he did was fantastic. Mm-hmm. And Metallica is Metallica. Need I say more?
Yes, they are Metallica.
So when they said that Lou Reed and Metallica were doing an album together, I was like, this could be something special. And what we got was special, but less awe-inspiring special and more short bus special.
Aw.
Yeah.
We're politically correct on this show, Mike.
Yeah, that's why there's a big red E on every episode. So I'm gonna let you. And I originally felt a little bit. Also, another reason I wanted to do this is because the one single that it had, the music video, was directed by Darren Aronofsky, who up until this year was one of my favorite filmmakers ever.
Oh. And
then he made this movie this year called Mother that I hate with every ounce and fiber of my being, and I feel like he should be ashamed of that movie and he should apologize for it. No. But I digress. You
were just talking about short buses. There's no apologies ever. No one should ever apologize.
I told you about what's in this movie, remember?
Yeah. I mean, but you know.
Anyway.
Have you ever seen something like that before?
In a movie? No, because why would you put that in a movie?
To make you react a certain way.
The only thing that could have been worse than that would have been if the new It movie had the child orgy from the book in it. Like, that's the only thing that would have been worse in movies this year.
How do children even orchestrate an orgy? Come on.
I don't know. The book was weird. Stephen King had problems. Anyway. So
what is this called? Lulu what?
Lulu. It's by Lou. Just Google Lou Reed Metallica. You'll find it. The album art is weird. And the title of it is Lulu. Lulu. Came out in 2011. And I originally felt bad about giving you this album because it's not good. But since you're going to give me this piece of shit from 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah.
I'd no longer feel any remorse.
Okay. Everyone tune in next week for the triumphant return. It will be brown.
It's going to be a low scoring toilet bowl flushing episode next week. Let me tell you.
Yeah. We were just on a roll there. We had all kinds of sperm going.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's your turn to pick. It's your turn. You get to pick the next theme.
The sperm was flowing.
Yeah. Now it's just back to poop. Lots and lots of poop.
Yeah. Oh well.
So much poop.
Just mountains and just. I am standing on the precipice of shit.
What's the line from 30 Seconds to Mars? On a mountain he sits, not of gold, but of shit?
No idea. Who listens to 30 Seconds to Mars?
Me in 2006. Jared Leto now, he listens to his own music and beats off to it.
I hope so.
I like him as an actor, but I hate him as a musician. Anyway.
I think, okay. All right. So this comes to the end of the show, right? Mm-hmm. And I haven't really had something for people to go to see me. There's just like my artist Facebook, you know, the Citizen 7 on Facebook, or you can go to eventideent.com. But I think I'm going to make a Twitter. I used to have a Twitter. Maybe I still do.
Shit.
But it's going to be like an Eventide Twitter. And so...
We've got one.
Well, I know we do, but we have a couple, or we have a few new shows, but in one of the shows called The Drive-In.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I forgot he did that.
Our good buddy Aaron has set up a Twitter account for that show, which was a really good idea, and I'm ashamed that we didn't think of it. So glad to have you on the team, buddy, but because you got good ideas. And
I heard him plug that on his show this week. I was like, "Fuck,
it's genius! Why would you not do that?" So I think I'm gonna make like an Eventide Twitter for myself. Okay, it might be, I don't know, it'll have some weird name, but And then so people can finally reach me on I've made a new coveted hashtag, which is which is my catchphrase, right? And it's just hashtag Gary Busey eating potato salad. All right. And that's the hashtag. So catch me on Twitter. Yeah, but you got to get all the substance in there. Yeah. Oh, I actually was thinking about this. I think about this a lot because that's the most hilarious thing that I could ever say. It's the most hilarious thing that ever came out of my mouth to me. I don't care what you other people think about it, but it's hilarious to me.
From the first episode of Track Record, and that had me about to fall out of my chair when you said
it's Gary Busey. But I have this idea, okay? And let's see if we can make it happen.
Okay.
Let's see if we can spread this word to the man himself, right?
Oh,
I want to reach out to Gary Busey, and I want to ask him if he would send me a video of him eating potato salad. Right? But then I had this idea. I was like, what if it's just like actually the most normal video? It's just like he's just eating it so regularly that would I don't know why that would be way more hilarious than like the gnashing teeth, like that, the smacky noise that I envision in my head. What if it was just normal, just like, just a regular guy eating potato salad and just Gary Busey, whatever.
See, now every time I hear Gary Busey, because I'm a huge fan of this raunchy ass cartoon called Brickleberry, and one of my favorite jokes is, you need to wear a helmet when you're riding that bike. Do you want to get a fucked up Gary Busey brain? That's all I'm thinking about right now. It's like, we're going to get us some fucked up Gary Busey brain.
Yeah. I originally thought of this Gary Busey joke while I was driving through Indiana. And the original joke was, driving through Indiana is like watching Gary Busey eat potato salad. Because it's just the worst thing, just like the most annoying. Like, you eventually come on to the windmills and just, come on, like, there's nothing in this state. Why do I have to drive all the way through you? It's annoying. But anyways, so yeah, that's happening. Mike, where can the people reach you, sir?
You can go to my website, www.mikeshaycomedy.com. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, Mike Shay Comedy. Every Monday, I'm at Ollie's Place for open mic night here in Dayton, Ohio. I have a couple shows coming up at Funny Bone and Wiley's here in the next few weeks. And then every Tuesday on Mike Talks Funny, and every Wednesday here on Track Record, part of the Eventide Entertainment podcast feed.
That's right. Cool beans.
Plug in all the shit today.
Yep.
And also, like, seriously, make sure you guys check out the newest shows that we have here. We just dropped the first episodes of Saltwater Gaming with Ellison Smith on Saturday. That's every Saturday at 9 a.m. And every Thursday, we have Aaron Lopez with his show, The Drive-In, talking about movies. I think this week they're doing a top 5.
That's right.
Horror films, because it's October. It's horror film month.
Yep.
And then on the 22nd, so this coming Sunday, or is it next Sunday? This coming Sunday is going to be a show on The Bookseller. I had to think about it for a second. The Bookseller, hosted by Jessica Gillen, where she's gonna this girl. I've known her for years. She's a freak of nature. She can read like 3 books in a week.
Yeah, when she said that, I was like, oh, okay.
I
mean, that's cool. If you could do it, that's fine. But that's crazy.
I've known her 10 years. She can do it. It's freaky.
That's awesome. So, I wish I could read 3 books in a week. I have a whole pretentious bookshelf full of shit that I need to read that I can. Yeah. I can make myself smarter when I talk about them and stuff.
I'm looking at mine right now, and it's I can't. So but anyway, so every week she's going to review a book, and that's every Sunday at 9 a.m. So as of like the beginning of November here, we have a show every day.
Herder.
It's Sundays, you got Bookseller with Jessica. Mondays, you got Nerd Versus with Robert. Tuesdays, Mike Talks Funny with me. Wednesdays, me and Robert come together for Track Record. Thursday, the Drive-In with Aaron Lopez. Friday is the rebroadcast of The Life with Don Smith. And Saturdays is Saltwater Gaming with Ellison Smith.
That's right.
Also, shout out to Don, who has been playing our promos on Right State's radio station.
Shout out Don. Funny guy. His last episode was really funny. The comedian that they couldn't get on the phone.
Oh my God.
What was it? Greg Hahn or whatever.
Greg Hahn. The phone kept schwitzing and they couldn't get Greg Hahn.
Yeah.
It was one of the
He sounds like a funny
things.
guy.
Yeah, he's pulling a double header this past weekend at Wiley's. A quadruple header. It was Friday and 2 shows a night, Friday and Saturday.
There you go.
Which, that's like the dream for a comedian, to just basically have a weekend stay at a club like that.
Yeah.
So, funny guy. Check out Don's show. He talks to all kinds of crazy characters. Check out all the shows. We got a lot of good stuff here at Eventide.
I think we do. Only getting better.
Have I jerked us off enough, you think, Robert?
I think so. What do we have, Mike?
We have a show.
Hey.
I think we have a show.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in again this week. This was a fun, albeit not supremely positive episode, and we promise next week is the return of the diarrhea blanket.
That's right.
So make sure you guys tune in again next Wednesday, 9 a.m. here for another episode of Track Record with myself and Robert. Everybody, take care and have a wonderful rest of your week.
Farewell.